that we're all just a mouse that a cat has on a tail.
The number you have reached, 911, has been changed to a non-published number.
Warning, the following show contains conservative posturing, radical Christian ideas, and may offend pagans, Wiccans, Islamic fundamentalists, and other unenlightened individuals. Callers and guests may be subjected to brash and offensive comments by the hosts and any other type of bullying tactics available. But that's okay. We know why you're here.
This concludes this test of the emergency broadcast system.
Tonight is Monday, June 25th, 2007.
Welcome, one and all, to World of the Unexplained. This is Jay Scott.
This is D.
And we've got Chuck, as usual, standing by.
What's going on?
Mr. Barry White himself. Tonight, unfortunately, Trent cannot be with us due to an emergency situation that he had to take care of. You know those darn Russians. It's it's a tough job for him to keep the free world safe. No, I'm kidding. Trent is stuck in the Cold War, I think. But he really wishes the Soviet Union were to take power again. I really believe that. What do you think?
Well, at one time, didn't he want to go over there?
Yeah.
He wanted to go there and be a English professor or something?
Yeah. That'd have been pretty cool.
You really want to drive around in a Yugo?
You know, this is good because I was going to bring this story up now. You've caught me in a good story. The Yugo, a friend of mine told me this, and I don't know how true this is because you can only, guarantee the veracity of any statement from the person telling you. And I remember a guy though I was in high school, and you remember the popularity of the Yugo automobiles in the late '80s, mid to late '80s, more likely mid '80s.
Yeah, mid '80s.
Well, they were apparently giving a Yugo away. If you would go to one of these timeshare, I'm not kidding. You know how they give you, they give you a TV or they were giving a free Yugo away if you go to a timeshare. And what's so funny is, my girlfriend Leanne, I guess she's 27 now. I think that's right. 27. Gosh, this sounded bad.
I hope she's not listening to the show.
Yeah,
tonight.
She probably is. Anyway, I think she's 27 now.
You know how they love it when you
miss that.
Well, no, now
admit that I don't know.
It's company.
No, 27's young.
Mid-20s, that's it.
Yeah. Well, 27's young, but not an old man like myself and the rest of these guys down here. But
that's not funny, man.
I know you're the oldest. Chuck's in the middle, I think. Chuck, when were you born?
I just turned 30. Actually,
you just turned 30, so it's Dee's the oldest, then me, then Trent, and then Chuck. So Chuck's the youngest. Yeah. How's it feel there, youngin? Yeah, young
feels
blood.
Pretty good, actually.
Yeah, apparently, man. It all falls apart after 30, from what I hear. But anyway, so they were giving away this free Yugo, and what was I saying about my girl? Oh yeah, my girlfriend didn't know what a Yugo was, and that made me feel really old. She's like, "What is a Yugo?" That's just a car.
It's this crappy car that was made in the 1980s.
I was like, didn't you
Soviet Union.
Didn't you see the movie Dragnet? You remember in Dragnet where they reassigned Dan Aykroyd the Yugo, and oh my gosh, yeah, I get that every now and then. There's certain things I'll make a joke about or.
And they won't pick up on it.
Yeah. Well, you know what it's like. You just went back to college, so I can only imagine some of the things you'd say, and they look at you like...
Yeah, they look like what?
Huh? Yeah, whatever, dude.
I find that there's a great deal of nostalgia for the 80s, actually. And,
really?
Yeah, in college right now.
That's why there's a lot of people named Jason.
Yeah. If you look at all their clothes, the 80s just like totally reappeared on the college campuses.
Emo's kind of stolen from New Wave, too.
Yeah, so. Well, if only the 80s clothing, late 80s clothing with the women would come back.
There you go, yeah.
Those little black leather mini skirts, oh my gosh.
It never will, neither will those TNA horror films either, man. Those are done, too.
I tell you what, America. It's a great country. Unfortunately, the Muslims are trying to destroy it, but we're not going to get into that right now.
Anyway, what were you talking about, your Yugo story here?
No, that was it. I mean, that was the story.
That was it? She didn't know what a Yugo was?
Yeah, she didn't know what a Yugo was. But I want to apologize because, the past, I just uploaded actually 2 podcasts. The last one's Brent Miller and Rich Anders interview 2 for both of those guys. We lost the rest of them because of some computer thing.
A big boner, man.
Yeah, that's great, Chuck.
Big mess up.
Yeah. And so we've lost like 3 shows?
Yeah, I think it was 3.
At least.
Okay. Yeah, I don't at least, man. You sound so pessimistic. Gosh. Yeah, so anyway, you're starting to sound like the Republican Party's chances of getting an elected nominee.
Fred Thompson, man, I just don't know about him either, man.
Man, I like the propaganda that Fred Thompson's stirring up. I do. I like his message. I like the look. He's a good Tennessee man. You're a Tennessee guy, Chuck.
Yeah, but he was a do-nothing senator,
I know.
man.
I've heard the record's pretty bad.
No legislation to speak of. Nothing he sponsored, man. And he quit the Senate
for TV.
For TV, yeah.
For Law and Order. But Law and Order is such a good show.
And he has a wife my age too. That's just sort of
no,
creepy.
that's killer, dude. I hope when I'm his age. No, I'm kidding.
Not unless you're Henry Kissinger, man.
Yeah, well. God. Anyway, the point is though that we did miss a couple of these shows. I think 3. We have invited back everyone that was a guest the past 3 weeks to reappear on the show, and we're going to do it again because I know a lot of you people don't listen to us live. You listen to us via the internet, podcast, and things like that. So we're gonna bring we're gonna bring all those people back onto the show, and that's it. I think Chuck and I have Chuck solved the problem because I tried and it wasn't working out for me.
Yeah, this is just a little get you, man.
Yeah. so anyway, and Chuck and I are going to start a show here pretty soon too. We need a name, and so if you got any ideas for a name for Chuck and me and the political talk show that we're going to be doing, send us an email, worldoftheunexplained@gmail.com, and give us a shout out.
Oh yeah. You know what I was just thinking of right now, man. I just popped into my head. Maybe stick it to you.
Can you imagine any politician coming onto a show called Stick It to You?
I don't know, man.
It just sounds.
Fox has got that new one at 2 a.m. called The Red Eye, man.
Yeah, and it's a terrible show. It's like us on TV. If anyone's seen that, yeah, Chuck compares it to us.
Don't knock it then, man.
Chuck compares it to us because we jump around from topic to topic and we never really get on.
Very, very new media. It's sort of cutting edge. I think that's where
we're the real underground.
Where media's going to, man.
We're the real underground here. We started this a long time ago. We're the real deal. No, we're the real deal, man. We take pride in our work. Unlike I'm not going to mention any show names. Oh God, no! I'm not going to do it.
I was going to say, no,
I'm not going to mention any show names because there's some shows out there that I feel don't, but we do. We want to do that, and we've got a different cutting edge to things, and it works out well for us. Well, tonight, the moment you've all been waiting for, we have Theresa Bane, Terry Bane, author of the book Actual Factual Dracula. She's in our area, actually, in Greensboro, North Carolina, and my name's on the back of this book. I did a little blurb for her, and she put it on there, so I'm real happy to have her, of course. But she's been featured on the Discovery Channel in a documentary entitled Twisted History, Vampires, for her knowledge and expertise of the undead. And this is actually her first book, if memory serves. So let's bring her on. Terry, are you there with us?
Yes, I am.
Well, thanks for coming on the show. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Now, for those of you that don't know, now Terry and I met the first time at a party they were having for I'm trying to think of the name of the show now.
The Dresden Files.
The Dresden Files. Isn't that a great show?
That was the one I couldn't go to.
That was the one you could. Yeah, I invited all you guys. Chuck, you included. Y'all didn't show up.
It has a great title.
Yeah. It's a good show. I don't know if it's still on. I've been so busy I haven't watched any TV in a long time. Is the show still running?
I think it's getting ready to start back.
It's off for the season. It's probably going to come back season after next.
Oh, what do you think? What do you think of that show? Do you like it?
I like it very much. It doesn't really hold true to the novels, the Dresden Files by Jim Butcher. Mm-hmm. But if you think of it as its own multiverse, and I know that's a lot of nerd talk, but
kind of like Highlander the series.
Exactly. It's really good for what it is, but you can't compare the TV show to the books.
Okay.
Well, they always change it anyway.
Creative license.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, they have to, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, Terry, tell us about your new book, Actual Factual Dracula.
Okay. It is coming out in hardback. It's right now off at the final editor printer. It'll be coming out, being mailed out, all the pre-orders in August. It's about 500 pages. It has a very thorough cross-reference and index for the book. And it's a compendium of vampires. What I've done is I've spent 5 years researching through histories and of all the different cultures and people and religions in the world, and I have found a little over 900 different species of vampires that have existed historically and in different mythologies. and I've written them up in sort of a field guide format in my book, and it explains just the historical and mythological vampires. You're not going to find Lestat or Spike because they're fictional works. The only fictional vampires that are in the book are ones that I considered historically important, like Bram Stoker's Dracula is in the book.
Yeah. What about
Vlad the Impaler?
what about Camilla?
Camilla is in there because it's one of the earlier examples. It's one of the works that preceded Dracula and sort of enabled the book and the play to do so well.
Varney the Vampire?
Varney is in there also.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I haven't looked through your book in quite a while. That's why I was asking. But it is.
You're going to love it. The cover art is wonderful.
That's what I want to see. That's what I want a new copy from. I've got a pre-published copy with just the text and things that say art here.
The one with the spiral binding on it?
Yes.
You're going to get your hardback in the mail in by the end of July.
Oh, that's going to be awesome. I can't wait to see the pictures.
I was
You're
saying,
going to love it. The artwork is beautiful. 26 original pencil drawings were also commissioned for the book, and I know there were some in the pre-pub that you got.
Yeah.
But the final ones are beautiful, beautiful.
Well, I was going to say, I thought we saw the cover that you had it at, I think it was the
StellarCon?
StellarCon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was that? I couldn't hear what he said.
I said I thought you had the new hardback cover when you were at StellarCon.
Oh, yeah. I was supposed to, but we had some illness in the family, and it took a lot longer than I thought to get my final copy to the publisher.
Oh, okay.
So.
But it was, we did meet at StellarCon.
Mm-hmm.
It was a scary place for me. I'll be the first to admit that.
No, man, that's a great place, man.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, next year we're gonna have a booth.
Oh God, yeah. So yeah, I mean it was interesting, but it was different. I'll give it that. It was different.
I live on the con circuit, so.
Yeah. How's Mace doing?
How what?
Mace, how's that one doing? That's the one that's in Asheville. I haven't been to that one in several years.
I've not been to it. I go to ShivaCon in Virginia.
Oh, okay.
But I've not gone to any conventions in Asheville.
Okay.
Okay, well, anyway, but yeah, the con circuits, it's different. I'll say that. For those of you that are into Star Trek and
so there is Star Trek.
Oh
there,
yeah, there's Star Trek, Stargate.
There's everything there.
That's
man.
awesome.
Yeah, Chuck, you would be totally at home there. Totally, 100%.
Yeah, I went to the one where was the author of R.A. Salvatore was there one year.
The Dungeons and Dragons author.
Yeah, for Forgotten Realms and Icewind Dale.
Drizzt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one thing I've noticed about your book, Terry.
Yes, sir.
From a, don't call me sir, please. from a perspective of just reading through the book, you could really use this if you were, if you're in the role playing stuff. I mean, the wealth of information that's there. I know there's a lot of people that are into the White Wolf gaming systems and things like that.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely.
it could be another publication on its own, standalone in just a role playing world, not only but this is a realistic thing though. This is a folklore based, and I haven't seen anything like this available. And I mean, I've researched a lot of the vampiric stuff myself, but I've never seen anything all in one desk reference kind of book.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
It's really amazing.
I know I've sort of said this half tongue-in-cheek before, but it is true. The last book that was published, like my book, was 300 years ago by Montague Summers. And this is the first time that anybody, and I it's hard to be humble about it, but it's true. This is the first time that someone sat down and pulled together all of the information. And it's exhaustive. I mean, it took me a long time working, 8-10 hours a day for 5 years, 5 days a week to do it.
Well, it did remind me of Summers. I mean, obviously Summers is a little, for those of you that don't like to read, you would not like Montague Summers. Let me preface that.
Yeah, it's written in archaic English, too.
Oh, yeah. But he wrote Vampire and Lore and Legend, Vampire Kith and Kin, and he also wrote a book about witchcraft. He's written books.
Yes, and werewolves.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it just the information there, and you can still find these if you know where to look. Another great book out there by another ancient person, Don Calmet. I can't remember the name of the book right off the top of my head. It escapes me. But that's a really good vampire book there. And there's also another one out there by the name of Yeah. Oh, the Witch's Hammer.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Yes.
Malleus Maleficarium.
Yeah, I like that one. That's a good one.
And the Malefitorium or something.
Yeah, Malleus
Pope put out.
Maleficarium. Yeah. Well, anyway, but yeah, these are all good books, and you can pick these up and you can go and do the research yourself. But why do that when all you have to do is pick up Terry Bane's new book, and it's right there, and it's in modern day English?
Yes, it is. It's written very plainly. There's even a pronunciation guide because there's, some of these vampires are from India and China and Czechoslovakia, and they all have their different pronunciations and the different emphasis on different syllabication. And it was hard to do, but I found the pronunciation of just about all of them. So that this way we can all say "Oswang" instead of everyone having different emphasis on different parts of the word.
Now, what do you find, Terry, about this whole idea of a worldwide vampirism? What do you find that ties all of these different things together?
That's a good question. In truth, in all of the different vampires, all the different cultures and time periods in the world, people, when they believed in vampires, were truly terrified and afraid of them. And it's not up until, I would say, maybe even like 1910, where people really started to see vampires in a different capacity, where they started to say, hey, they're sexy or they're cool, or they began to empathize with them. It was really with the publication of Carmilla and Dracula and other Victorian horror tales that people began to feel sorry for vampires and sorry for monsters. But up until that point, I think it was just a universal fear of vampires and what they could do or what people believed they were doing.
Yeah, go ahead, DJ.
I was just going to say, I'm still afraid of what they could do or what they might do.
Well, let me ask you a personal question, Terry, if that's okay.
Yeah, there's no such thing as a personal question.
Okay, well, good.
Oh,
because we break
okay.
we break all the rules on this show anyway.
Okay.
What do you believe in an actual vampire?
No, I don't believe in vampires.
Okay.
I don't believe they exist. I don't believe they hang out at Hot Topic. I don't
come on.
believe
Oh,
filing
man.
your teeth and wearing, contact lenses and, wearing black and sitting up drinking wine in plastic chalices makes you a vampire. The only way you can be a vampire is to be dead.
Yeah.
And then people tend not to socialize.
Yeah, but do you? That's what I'm asking. Do you think there is a realistic or a real demonic force out there that does these things?
Well, a demonic force is different. I think that there are supernatural elements that could be real.
Okay.
I believe that people can be possessed, but I don't believe that there are vampires.
Okay.
I think people who are possessed are not possessed by vampiric deities, I'll put it that way, or entities.
Okay, so you don't believe that that's possible at all. What about psychic vampires? Do you believe that's a possibility?
No, I don't believe in psychic vampires. I believe that there are people that are annoying and can drain your energy.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Well, I believe that's true. If that makes a person a psychic vampire, everybody in middle management is a psychic
Oh, yeah, definitely.
It does certainly seem to be a pretty new fad, I guess,
It is.
in the
And you know
subculture.
what? I don't believe in sexual vampires either. I think that under the right circumstances, the right candlelight and mood music and satin bed sheets, anybody can be a psychic vampire. But I don't think you can really live off of that. I don't think any carbon-based life form can live off of sexual energy.
Oh, man. Bursting my bubble again. No.
Sorry, Jay.
What I find odd is like on some of these like the newer culture vampires that they have, where they actually have these like the bars that they go to, and they actually still like actually drink one other person's blood and all this other stuff. Man, that just like totally creeps me out.
And it should.
It should. People who claim that they have a physical need to drink blood, that is a psychological condition. That is caused by a chemical imbalance in their body. People can even convince themselves that they need to drink blood. But the truth is, a human body is not designed or engineered to sustain life off of consuming human blood. It's a physical impossibility, and it does two things. It will starve you to death, and in the meantime, it will turn your poo into a sticky black paste.
Oh.
Your breath smell rancid, and you will die. I mean, you hear about people doing this like because they're stranded on a boat out at sea, and it's good for short term, but there's no way a human can survive. No way at all.
Ugh.
You can ask any medical doctor.
All right. Well, we're not planning on that, but we're going to take a short break, Terry, if you'll hang tight with us.
Sure.
Then we're going to open up the phone lines here, 877-722-7382. That's 877-SCARE-U2. We're locally 336-996-1596. You're listening to World of the Unexplained tonight with Terry Bane, author of Actual Factual Dracula, and we'll be right back after this. And we're back. World of the Unexplained, Terry Bane, author of Actual Factual Dracula. And she was going to be one of our guests on the Out of Darkness tour, but not enough of you gleeful people signed up. Maybe it was because it was in Greensboro, North Carolina. I don't know. We're going to try a bigger city next time. But
Like what, Raleigh? Charlotte?
I was thinking Miami or something.
Atlanta.
I'm thinking Atlantic City.
Atlantic City, that would
Oh, yeah.
rock, man.
Vegas.
Vegas would be cool. I could do that.
I'd be there for Vegas.
Now, Terry tells us, we were talking on break a little bit about, vampires in different areas of the United States and some of the mythos surrounding that. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, you mentioned on break about the southern vampires, and I was thinking the closest that we come in America for a southern vampire would be like the fool lights, little ghost lights you see in the swamp.
Yeah.
There's lots of stories of those luring people off and like tricking them into falling off of a cliff or doing things like that. But there are a few of those reports, enough of them that I've warranted putting it in my book, about them tricking people out into the swamps and then assaulting them and flying through them. And like where they would come out of the body, there'd be like little hickey marks or bleeding spots. And so I consider that vampiric activity enough because these things were feeding off of fear and blood. So they got a mention in the book.
You're scaring Chuck, Terry.
It's like, mental note, not
Stay
to go
away from
walking in the
swamp.
swamps.
Yeah. Stay away from the Mako
I don't want
light.
any vampire hickeys.
Yeah. Stay away from the Mako lights. What do you what about like New England vampires?
Yeah, there is Mercy Brown, who is from Rhode Island actually, and she was in 1893.
Okay.
And she had consumption or tuberculosis, as we call it now, and she died. And then the neighbors started reporting seeing her coming around, and then her mother died and her sister died, and the father was freaking out because all he had left was his son, and he was convinced that it was his daughter Mercy coming back. So he dug up the grave in the middle of winter with a bunch of town people, and this is in 1893. To sort of, a lot of people don't know what's going on in the world in 1893. There's Manhattan. The Brooklyn Bridge is being constructed. I mean,
And we're killing vampires.
Yeah, and here are people digging up a woman's corpse. They pulled her heart out of her chest, burned it, and they fed the ashes to the son.
Oh. Wow.
He died anyway a couple months later.
TB?
And
Sorry, go ahead.
And it was written up in the local newspaper that this was going to be done. Bring the family, come check it out. And then they said, in these modern times, could you imagine such silliness happening?
I don't know.
Like bringing your family, having just a nice little family outing, digging up a body.
I think it would be. I know this is way over romanticized, but I think it'd be kind of cool, to sit back in the old, we got the old the old 1800s we're on, 1890s. We think we're men of the day because, man, it's the 1890s, baby. It's kicking. We're about to hit the 19th century, or actually the 20th century, the 1900s. And, we're all like, okay, yes, we must banish this demon tonight. Chuck.
Exactly.
Yes. Chuck, do you have your, crossbow with the, rosewood or, whatever kind of wood you're using, white thorn or, I don't know. Ask any of them.
You can pick
Teak.
wood pretty much.
Do what?
I think it's regional. It depends on where in the world you are, whether it's, white thorn, black thorn, rose bush, birch. I mean, it's, I've said this on panels at different conventions that, vampires are pretty much repelled by whatever was culturally
acceptable.
In a surplus. Like, for instance, I always say, if there was only a vampire that existed on the convention circus, you would kill him with swag.
Okay.
So you have to go to those conventions, Scott.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was trying to laugh like I knew what was going on, and I totally missed it.
Oh, swag is all that free paper that people hand.
Oh God, yeah, isn't that awful?
You know, we contributed to that.
We did, and so did Terry, because we left her a bunch of it too.
Swag everyone.
Yeah, we're like, here, take this. But yeah, I mean, it's. I guess you're right. The cultural differences there would be, You know, I guess, you know, like I remember when I was a kid, I was all into the vampire thing. You know, I was reading Nancy Garden's book on vampires. I was like, 12, 13 years old.
You were one of those kids that hunted other neighborhood kids, weren't you?
No, I wanted to.
Lost Boys.
Yeah, no. But anyway, I did have a little bag of tricks with me, though. And what I did, and y'all are going to laugh, I don't think I've ever told this story before.
Oh, you have to share now.
Oh, of course. So I'm on the air now, and I'm going to admit to it. But when I was a kid, I got this big piece of plywood from the hardwood store, right? And this is back in the day when there wasn't any internet and we used encyclopedias. You remember those days, right?
Unfortunately.
Yeah. No Googling nothing. You know, this ain't no Google. You know, Google this, huh? Yeah. So we get the Encyclopedia Britannica out, or I had World Book, actually.
Yeah, I had World Book,
I had
too.
you beat, man. I used my dad's from college. They were like 1959.
Ooh.
There was no space program or anything in those. No
One
TV.
day, man will go to the moon. So I'm flipping through this old encyclopedia, and I find, crosses of the world, like the different kinds of world religions. I've got, they're all they're all Christian religions, but they were all like one was like in the shape of an X, one was in the shape of the regular cross that we see, one was a cross that had like a little circle around the top. They had all these different designs. So what I did was I traced all these designs out on this plywood, and I cut them out with a jigsaw. And then I sanded them down. I was going to stain them. I never got around to staining them. But I was putting together this, vampire slaying kit, man. And I was like, no matter what I come across, man, I'm going to get it. Because I've got, he's a Norwegian vampire. Wait, stop. This one didn't work. Yeah.
Little boy.
I was a strange child.
Sounds like a whole lot of work, too, you put into it.
I did, like everything I do. Yeah. So you know how over the top I am sometimes, Chuck. And this was...
People ask me that question all the time on panels. What if it's a Jewish vampire?
Star of David.
Cross work. And this is what I tell people. You can put your two fingers, if there were such a thing as vampires. A cross really only works, culturally. Jewish vampires are not repelled by crosses. But, but not in that sense. It's not like you're going to... If a cross, if just two pieces of crossed wood was going to repel a vampire, telephone poles would so that's not going to work. The whole point of it was that it was a crucifix, the cross with the actual dead Christ on it, which was what was supposed to repel Count Dracula, because he couldn't look on such a holy image. But, two sticks tied together, bless your 12-year-old heart, was not going to do it.
So to repel a Jewish vampire, what would you have to do? I don't know, ward them off with a Star of David or something?
A very specific Hasidic ritual has to be done to exorcise a Jewish vampire. Jewish vampires are more of a level of entity that go and possess a person. They're not like actual creatures. They're something that... it's a type of soul that comes and possesses you. No
Lord Ruthven there for you, Chuck.
No.
I'm making all these references, but Lord Ruthven, for those of you who don't know, and I'm maybe not pronouncing it right, but Ruthven, I don't know. That was from Polidori's The Vampire.
I found the pronunciation for it in a British guide that said it was pronounced Riven.
Really?
Yeah, like R-I-V-E-N.
Well, I've been corrected then. Lord Riven. I'll sound all culturally...
I didn't know either for years.
Yeah, I'll sound all culturally sound now. Yes, actually, the correct pronunciation of that is Lord Ruthven. Yes. Well, it's kind of like Cro-Magnon man. I've heard the proper pronunciation for that's not Magnon, it's actually Mannion.
Yeah, they're repronouncing lots of words like Neanderthal and...
Yeah, Neanderthal or something.
I want you to say the T, Neanderthal.
Oh, that's it. Okay. Well, yeah.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Sounds like a bunch of British propaganda to me.
It is. It's kind of like the Islamic fundamentalist, man. It's Anyway, so the jihadis. We're not going to get into that tonight, though. What can we repel them with? These jihadi vampires. What can we use? I don't know. We'll think about
Nuclear
that.
Weapons.
Yeah, no, they're going to use those on us. Wait till you hear from our next guest. I think that's next week. Yeah, gosh, time's catching up with us.
Yeah, it is.
Anyway, we're opening the phone lines up, guys. 877-722-7382. That's 877-SCARE-YOU2.
Boo.
Or 336-996-1596. Feel free to call in and speak with Terry Bane, author of Actual Factual Dracula. She won't bite.
Unless you ask real nice.
But her book might. So anyway, it is a great book, and like I said, I haven't seen anything like it in its day and age. I had heard stories about a book, and maybe you can clear this up for me, Terry.
Okay.
About a book that came out a number of years ago called A Clutch of Vampires.
No, I haven't heard of it, to tell you the truth.
Okay, well.
Because I don't read almost any vampire fiction.
No, it's supposed to be a mythologically based research book.
No, I haven't heard of it.
Okay, well, that's there you go.
I was going to say, it's not to say it's not good or reliable, but it hasn't crossed my path in 5 years of research. So.
Well, I'll tell you one of my favorite books, and tell me if you've read it or not. It's a book by a guy named Paul Barber. It's called Vampires, Burial, and Death.
Oh yeah, I have that on my bookshelf.
Okay, that's out of print now, I believe.
It is. It was. I had to go really hunting for that one.
I did too. But if anybody gets a chance to read that, Paul Barber, I think he was a UCLA professor, and he actually went through and said, okay, well, if you stake a vampire, here's the way that the early people could mistake these corpses that animate themselves, could mistake them for vampires. The gases trapped in the bodies, it would elicit the moans. You got to think, this is before we embalm people. There's lots of things that created these different...
Well, the whole skin peeling back, I guess, as the body desiccates as well. So it appears that the hair and the fingernails have grown.
Yeah, but they don't actually grow.
Exactly.
Right, it just recedes back in when the moisture is lost.
Now, I've heard rigor mortis sets in and then sets out again. Is that true?
Yeah, it does. Once after you're dead, I think it's 6 hours maybe, your body gets stiff, and sometimes at that time, if the gas level is right, you'll sit straight up.
Oh,
but
God.
You'll fall back down after just a few minutes.
That's pretty disturbing right
there.
That
dude, I couldn't imagine working in a morgue.
Well, that's like, hey, you're talking about like earlier periods in history, they used to, you always used to sit up with the dead,
Oh, yeah. And, you can still see that.
Sometimes they would do that. They would actually sit up.
Well, you can see that in that's a Southern tradition. I feel pretty confident about it. Maybe come over from Europe, but that's why we call them the wake, and I still call them wakes. A lot of people call them the viewing.
Yeah.
But
how about death photographs?
Yeah, those are weird.
Those are creepy, aren't they?
Those are weird. I've seen those.
That's disgusting.
Lots of cultures have done that. Sitting up with the body. And the idea was that, not so much, I guess really the whole point was to help you through the grieving process, but the excuse was to make sure that no demonic forces would come into the room and possess the corpse. In lots of Asian cultures, they say that if you don't, sit awake and then make sure that a cat doesn't jump over a corpse, if it does, then the person will rise up as a vampire. And I think in cultures where ancestors and ancestor worship is very important and significant, that's where those cultures have, if a shadow crosses over a vampire, or if a cat jumps over, or if a bird flies over the roof. Because, how hard is it to honor a family member by making sure the cat doesn't come in the room and walk on the body?
Don't have cats.
It's not hard at all. It sort of helps you through the grieving process.
Well, I remember when I was down in Charleston, South Carolina, a few years ago. I actually saw what I'd heard about before. There's an old cemetery, and they do the ghost tours like they do in every old southern city, and I'm sure northern cities as well. But one of the things were at the cemetery, they used to have the bell ringing system in place where they would put the bells on top of the graves, and they would have a string, so if the person did, the string was in the coffin, so if they were alive, they could ring the bell.
They could read the bell to get, so you could.
And that's where the term night shift came from, because there were people that worked on the night shift, and their job was to listen for any of these bells, like, oops, Chuck ain't dead. Let's go dig him up. Call the town folk, and then we dig you up.
Real craze of that going through the country at one point. People, accidentally being buried alive.
Oops.
It wasn't a problem up until the point. It was only originally a problem for rich people because poor people couldn't afford coffins. No, to be true, coffins were a luxury item. Most people, if they were accidentally buried alive, because they were in a coma but they broke it or whatever,
dig out.
You're only buried about 2 or 3 foot down. And so if you woke up, all you really had to do was dig out a foot. But rich people, they had the coffin and they were laid out in the fancy dresses. And they were screwed if they woke up alive. So that's where the whole thing came from. I mean, it was a serious concern. I'm rich. I don't deserve to be buried alive.
That's a great quote, man. We should use that for a tagline. I'm rich. I don't deserve to be buried alive.
I'm putting it on T-shirts. How about that?
Yeah, there you go.
We're gonna have to put that. We're gonna have to use that clip there. I'm rich. I don't deserve to be buried alive. World of the unexplained. I can hear it now. But no. So no, you reside here in Greensboro, North Carolina.
Actually, I'm just moving. I'm moving to Sophia, North Carolina, which is 20 minutes away.
I'm sorry. No, I can't.
Okay, no, there's no way you could have known.
No, I mean about Sophia.
Oh.
No, it's not that bad of a place. I used to have some family.
Because I'm going to be like one of 3 people living in the town. So.
Well, you know, our show's based out of Kernersville, and I just started a small law practice here.
Oh, and you're laughing at me.
I know, right? Well, Kernersville's growing, though. Yeah, me and my girlfriend just bought a house out here, and
congratulations!
Just today, actually. So.
Oh wow!
It's going to be pretty crazy.
Lucky you.
I'm getting that marriage pressure thing now.
Yeah, I was getting ready to ask you about that.
Well, you met my girlfriend, Terry. She was there with me that night.
She's very sweet.
She is. She's a very sweet girl. But, yeah, we just signed up tonight, so hopefully everything's going to be just a rolling on through.
Wow, congratulations.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It should be fun.
I'm excited for you.
But, you know, great book. Going back to that, I want to talk about all the cool vampire stuff when I've got you here, because it's rare that we get cool vampire guests anymore, and you're one of them. You can actually, when I make a comment that's like way out there that only a couple people would get, you would be able to actually get it, and that's kind of cool. You know?
Oh, well, thank you.
But, you know, it's just amazing. What do you think about the Greek version of like the Lamias and things like that? And I may be pronouncing that wrong as well.
There's actually, I believe there's 6 different variations of the Lamia as a species of vampire, because there's like Queen Lamia, and then there's the Lamia half snake, half woman, and then there's just the Lamia snake vampires, and then there's the Lamia fully humanoid vampires.
Okay.
And you know, there's the Greek legend, and then there's the Roman legend that more or less parallels it.
Now, which is the one with Hecate?
Which one?
Hecate.
Yeah, it's still the Lamia legend. It just falls into it.
Okay.
Let me look it up in my book real quick, because I have an advanced copy here.
Oh,
See what I have? I'm going to use my cheat notes.
Actually,
I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to tell you what I tell everybody. Yes, I wrote this book, but there's 900 entries in here.
Oh yeah.
I can't have memorized them all.
Well, yeah. Could you read the entry out for us? I want people to get an idea of what they'll be getting when they purchase this thing.
Okay. These are the entries that I have underneath Lamia. There is the Corinthian Lamia. There's John Keats's poem, which I mentioned. I don't reproduce in the book. That's what internet's for. There's the Corinthia Lamia. There's the Philemon Lamia, the Sabris Lamia, and Queen Lamia. And then there's the Lamias as a singular entity. There's the vampiric race of Lamia, and then there's the Lamiac.
Wow.
So what is that, 8 or 9?
Yeah, just pick one.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll do Lamia the Queen.
Okay.
Her name, her literal translation, you can't laugh, is the swallower. The swallower.
I'm gonna laugh.
That's just too funny.
I said you couldn't laugh.
Okay.
But the more literal translation of it is the dangerous lone shark.
Okay.
Is like the older, more archaic. And she's from ancient Greece, and she is a singular, specific vampire. She was born the daughter of Balis, the queen of Libya, and she was a lover to the god Zeus.
Okay.
She appeared as a beautiful woman who, over time, grew to have a monstrous appearance. Her prey was primarily children, and she attacked nightly. And what happened to her is, because her and Zeus were having a relationship, Hera, being jealous all the time, cursed her and took her children away. And Lamia was driven just mad with grief, and she went on a killing spree, murdering all the children in the countryside. And she would also periodically lure men off for an indiscretion, and she would kill them during sex by draining blood from them.
Oh, nice.
And Zeus really did have a thing for Lamia, and he felt really bad for her. So what he did was he gave her the ability to remove her own eyes so that she wouldn't see the sort of horrible creature that she was metamorphosizing into. The only time she was vulnerable to attack, historically speaking, if you wanted to have the local hero go out and try to kill her, she was impervious to attack except when her eyes were removed. That's the only time that a weapon could hurt her.
No.
And she actually falls into a type of demonic group called the Impusa, who are the children of Hecate.
Yeah, okay. I remember the Impusa. EMPUSA.
Yes, and my next book, which is called Actual Factual Demons, will go into the whole explanation of
that one
Decay and the Impusa.
I think that'd be really cool.
Now that one right there, actually, a lot of my more fun I have with the demonic stuff. If you want a good blurb for that, let me know. Anyway, but
you're just trying to work on those blurbs.
I am, man.
You,
I am. But I tell you what, we've had some really good interviews about demonology on this program, and I've worked with a few demonologists, like John Zaffis, and I've seen a lot of really compelling footage and things like that. That's just amazing. I have my own belief system. It's, Christian, conservative, red, white, and blue-blooded American. But it's, anyway, where was I going? Oh, yeah, I want to ask you about this and what your theories were on this. There's so many different theories on the origins of the vampire. I know, you go back to the Greek mythology and you look there like we were just talking about. But do you also seem to find in popular fiction, and I don't know if there's an actual... I can't remember. It's been so long since I've done any research in the vampire world. But, you seem to read back in a lot of popular fiction this idea of Lilith being Adam's first wife.
Yeah, that is actually from the original Old Testament, and it's actually in a lot of old Jewish lore. That Adam's first wife, Lilith, was made from mud. Adam was made from the dirt, and Lilith was made from the mud. I'm sorry. And what had happened was, she didn't like the standard missionary position. She wanted to be on top.
Oh, Lordy.
Okay, so, and Adam's like, no, and God said, well, you have to. And she said, as if, and walked out on him. And so she hooked up with a bunch of demons near the lake of fire, and every day she gave birth to 1,000 little demonic offspring.
Oh, wonderful.
Wow.
Yeah, and, just like, some trailer parks.
Jerry Springer, tonight, Lilith and Adam.
So Adam started complaining to God. He missed his wife, So God went and sent 3 angels to bring her back. And she said, I'm not going back. And the angel said, you have to. And she said, I'm not. And they said, well, if you don't, every day we're going to kill 1,000 of your children. And she's like, well, whatever you need to do. So the angels came back and they told Adam, and Adam was all sniffy. And then God went and made him Eve, and things worked out a lot better. And so Lilith got all huffy that Adam went and got himself a second wife, and she made it her business to go and kill all children who fell within a certain unholy period. Like at that time in Jewish religion, children and women both were considered unclean between birth and I think it's either 30 or 90 days after when the naming ceremony takes place.
Okay.
And that was the time that Lilith was allowed to find you and kill your children. So you had to put up all kinds of amulets and talismans to protect your children from her.
I just don't see...
a vampire in the sense she lived off children's blood.
I just don't see why God just wouldn't have, smited her. This is the Old Testament God.
Angry at her.
Well, this is the Old Testament God, the lightning, poof, you're dead.
Exactly. And this is one of the stories that didn't make it into, what we consider the modern Bible.
Yeah, the canon,
because those stories were selected by a completely different criteria, and it wasn't worth repeating, apparently. But it's still held in lore, so.
Well, no, it is an interesting story. It really is, and it gives gives a different aspect to the whole idea of the whole, vampiric thing. I know a guy. I'm not going to mention his name. I'm not, really. I know usually when I say that, I do. I know a guy who believes in vampires, who is in the clergy, and who claims that his ancestors have vampires living in Europe now.
Well, I will say this in his defense.
Okay.
There are certain gypsy tribes in the Romania region who believe that a person can be born a vampire. And these are people who are born with red hair and teeth and sometimes a short tail.
Chuck's a vampire. Let's see your tail, buddy.
No tail, man.
No tail?
Yeah.
I don't know.
He had it removed as a child.
That's it.
This person says that he has ancestors who are dead.
Yes.
Who are still alive.
Or reanimated, yes.
Yes. I would love to be invited to one of his family reunions. I'd love to meet them.
I don't think he's actually met them, has he? I don't know.
No, I don't think so.
Dee knows him too.
Yeah.
We're going to narrow down this. Yeah. Now we'll probably cut this out of the archive. Yeah. But
his family reunions are quite fun, though.
I'm related to Dracula. That's like somebody saying I'm related to Rhett Butler. Dracula is a fictional character. Rhett Butler is a fictional character. His grandfather could not have been Rhett Butler.
But, they could be related to the actual...
They could be related to Clark Gable.
Or Count
But
Dracula.
yeah, they
Romania,
could with
I
the
suppose,
Vlad Tepes.
Right. Oh, no, Jeff Corwin from Animal Planet. He's related to Vlad Tepes.
Really?
Yeah, he is. His last name's not actually Corwin, it's Korvanich. And he's had a genealogist do his family tree, and he's related to Vlad Tepes. And some people are. But
isn't that a nice thing? You do genealogy and they go, oh,
a
by the way.
vampire.
Adolf Hitler's your grandfather.
Oh, right.
Oh, yeah.
And you're Jewish. How did that happen?
He didn't even have any kids.
Yeah.
Well, you know what's funny is Vlad Tepes, or Vlad the Impaler, as he's known in America, he is a cultural hero in his country. And what's hysterical is I was watching a show on TV from a reputable channel, and these...
There are none.
Well, it was Discovery.
Yeah, that's not reputable in my book.
People in the area who live in the shadow of quote-unquote Dracula's castle, and they were talking to them about the novel Dracula. And they said, oh, we've not heard of this. And they gave a couple copies to some of the locals who read them, and they were completely abashed. They're like, how could you do this to our national icon? Vlad Tepes, to them, they never referred to him in a negative light. He's a cultural hero. They loved him.
Yeah.
It would be like the equivalent of somebody writing a book about George Washington making him eat making him eat babies and revel in puppy guts.
But what about all the pictures of him with all the eating dinner with all the people with steaks, the old woodcut?
He did that.
Oh yeah, nice guy.
He absolutely did that, and he protected his people from the Muslim Turks who were coming to try to destroy their culture, their way of life.
Oh, they were Muslims. It's okay. See, he is a good guy.
No, what I'm saying is he was their protector. He was their protector. He kept his people safe. He kept them employed. He kept them well fed. They loved him. His people loved him and trusted him so much that he even left a solid gold chalice at the communal drinking well that was there for anybody and everybody to use, and it was never stolen in his reign.
Well, that's because they were afraid they didn't have him on the pipe.
He also had one penalty for every crime.
Oh, death.
But it was a completely crime-free,
I bet. That's one way to do it. Terry, we got to take our second break of the night. You're listening to World of the Unexplained. Terry Bane, hang tight, call in. We want to hear from you. 877-722-7382. That's 877-SCARE-YOU-TOO, or locally 336-996-1596. You're listening to Woe 2. We'll see you in a bit. And it's time to play Stump the Vampirologist here at World of the Unexplained with Theresa Bane. Terry, give them your website real quick if you don't mind.
It is TheresaBane.com, TheresaBane.
Okay, because a lot of people spell Teresa differently.
Yeah, I was going to say I spell
they leave off the H, but there is an H in my name.
Okay, so now what we're going to do here, we know you're out there listening, is we're gonna play a little game here. If you can call in, if you're not shy, and stump the vampirologist, which would be Terry, she's going to give you a free, what is it, Terry, a free piece of artwork?
A free print of one of the pictures in my book.
Awesome.
Really cool.
Free, sent to your house.
And even if you're shy, just call in anyway.
Or your P.O. box. If you don't want us to know where you live. 877-722-7382. That's toll free in the United States and Canada. Not in Mexico, I don't think. Or 336-996-1596. And no, that's not a slide at you illegal immigrants that are living here.
That was very subtle how you slipped that in.
Thanks. I appreciate that. Well, they call Kernersville Little Mexico now.
I thought it was still called K Vegas.
Oh, that too. Anyway, so Stump the Vampirologist. Let me see. I'll see if I can think of one later. But I know I'm not going to get her.
Yeah.
I know I'm not.
If you're listening, call in.
Yeah. We'll give you something free at Woe2 anyway. So call in, see what you think. Let's talk about vampires in popular culture.
Okay, I'll try. I'm not as familiar with popular culture vampires because, I know so much. Sometimes I get twitchy watching them.
What do you think of what movies and television has done to the vampire myth?
Well, television, I'll say modern media because I'll include books in this too.
Okay.
They've sort of taken this absolutely horrific, evil creature, and they sort of want you to feel weepy and covetous of it. And, people... I love, first of all, Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel. I love the show. I love the drama. I love the characters. I think James Marsters is hot. But, Spike is still a corpse. He drinks blood. He's going to breath. He has a lifestyle you just can't comply with. And it's something is wrong with our society that we think corpses are great and, killing is okay. And even though some vampires, I only drink a little blood. Well, that's like a little killing somebody. That's still not good. We should still not, encourage this behavior.
Oh, come on. We've got somebody that's going to take you up on your offer, I think. Chris from Atlanta, Georgia. Chris, what's going on, buddy?
Nothing much, just finishing off dinner.
All right.
I'm not calling in to stump, but I just do have my general questions as usual.
Okay.
First of all, Teresa, have you ever heard, everyone's going to think I'm crazy for asking this because I always ask about this.
Okay.
Have you ever heard about the happy side of these dark, evil, vicious, bloodthirsty killers?
You're crazy.
Have I ever heard of a happy side of vampires?
Yeah, like Amanda, the little vampire that could, or...
oh, my God.
What? I mean, no, seriously, we always hear with ghosts, with werewolves, with vampires, we always hear about the death and the horror and the destruction. I mean, eventually they're going to accidentally do something nice. Have you ever heard of anything like that?
Let me put it to you in perspective, okay? Because I agree. We should not dwell on the negative aspects of everything. Hitler, after all, despite all the people he killed, did give us the Volkswagen.
Wow.
Go VW
there you go.
That's
wow.
Funny. I have a couple of VWs.
Oh, you Nazi. Okay, Chris?
Okay. And one more question, if I have enough time.
Oh, yeah.
Go right ahead.
Okay. Why is it that it always seems like vampires and other supernatural creatures seem to be segregated? I mean, it's like a unionized thing. The vampires don't associate with the werewolves. The werewolves can't talk to the ghosts. The ghosts stay away from the demon. I mean,
what about the monster mash?
Really hear any kind of interaction between the two?
No, I interviewed the guy from the Monster Mash, Chuck, that you mentioned.
I remember. I was there that night.
That's right, you were, yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Well, I would have to say I think the Munsters were the first supernatural family to cross the ethnic barrier.
There's interracial monsters.
Interracial monsters.
Interspecies monsters, I guess.
Yeah.
But
anyway.
Yeah, okay. Well, do you have anything to stump her with, Chris?
No, not really. Just curious about those two, the happy vampires and why we never seem to...
I would say the reason that is because the legends and lore are not wholly consistent. The cultures that have vampires are not necessarily also cultures that believe in mummies or werewolves or ghosts, so you really can't have the cross-genre. And then if you as an outsider try to take, a ghost from China and a vampire from Canada, and then a werewolf from Romania, the quote-unquote science, as it were, doesn't line up. And it's really hard unless you're going to write something completely from fiction and try to work it together. Jim Butcher is an awesome author, a good friend of mine, and he does it very well in his series of books. But like I said, you have to sort of recreate all the mythologies to make it work fictionally. You can't take true historic ghosts and witches and vampires and werewolves and try to weave them together. So no print for you.
Okay, that makes sense.
Hey, thanks for calling in, Chris. We appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Thank you. I have a question.
Uh-oh.
Why is it that it seems like all of the vampires or werewolves or wraiths or ghosts or monsters that you hear about, most of them that you hear about most of the time came from like Romania, Transylvania? I mean,
because these are old world, man.
Yeah, but I mean, why did so many come from one place?
Okay, because I only heard part of what you said. Was your question, why is it that Romania seems to be the birthplace of vampires?
Well, like vampires, werewolves, the Frankenstein, all those things.
Actually, it would be Frankenstein's monster.
I think Frankenstein maybe also from Western Europe, but
yeah.
Go on.
I think that has to do with the success of the novel Dracula. Bram Stoker set his book in that area, and when Mary Shelley wrote her book, she used like a German scientist, and she used the culture of that area. The true birthplace of the vampire would actually be like Assyria, which is probably one of the oldest cultures in the world. It's definitely the oldest culture with a written language, and with all the archaeology that's done worldwide, the oldest piece of writing that has ever been discovered is actually a magic spell to ward off vampires.
Wow.
So I would guess people think of Romania as the home, the birthplace of vampires because of Bram Stoker, but that's probably not true.
Oh, okay.
Well, Bram Stoker.
Print for you.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, I don't get a print?
No. If you look at, historically, you look at Bram Stoker, you look back to, Thomas Prescott, and you look back at the whole John Polidori, all these things that could have possibly lended itself to the creation of Stoker's Dracula.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean...
when Bram Stoker wrote, first of all, he had never left England at that point. Everything he wrote was like stuff that he heard from people's travels. He talked to a lot of people who traveled professionally. And all throughout that area, even by a distance of 50 miles, the vampire lore changed completely. So what people on this side of the mountain believed in vampires did not necessarily believe the same thing about vampires over there. And when he finally sat down and wrote out, Dracula, from my research, it showed me that the character Count Dracula is made up of 27 different species of vampires. Not all vampires have the ability to control the weather. Only a few do, but Dracula does. But then he only does it at certain plot points. He doesn't do it because he can, or when you think he should. He did it because he needed a way to explain how the ship got from point A to point B.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
No.
Or like shape changing and all that stuff as well.
The bat.
Yeah, bat or changing into a wolf. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I like, I've got a great list of things as far as vampire stuff that was fun for me as a kid growing up. Yeah.
12 years old again?
Yeah, I watched the Monster Squad.
Hey, I like the Monster Squad.
I still have the Monster Squad. As a matter of fact, I bought a copy of the Monster Squad because I couldn't find it on DVD anywhere. I found it on eBay. And someone had took a laser disc, apparently, and burned it onto the DVD and packaged it off like it was, But it's cool. I've got it on DVD. So, but yeah, I love that movie. But some of the other movies that I love that they just reissued a few years ago, they reissued all the old classics, Dracula, Wolfman, all that stuff. It was a Universal collection.
Nosferatu.
Oh, yeah, they did.
Yeah, I mean, it's, great. Well, Nosferatu wasn't part of that. That was 1922.
Oh, that was an awesome movie.
Silent film. I actually, here's something. Here's a fact I think I may have said on the air before. When Trent and I were in Germany in 1997, our friend Derek actually took us to a German recitation of, or filming, I guess, showing of Nosferatu, where they had a live pianist playing the actual piano parts to the original film while it was being shown in black and white on the projector.
Cool.
It was very cool.
Neat.
And then the subtitles were all in German, so I couldn't read it. But hey, it was cool.
You knew what was
I knew what was
happening
going on. Yeah, and it was really cool. So that's my Nosferatu story. But you see so many of these things, and you do see the cross I guess breeding of these different kinds of entities when you look at movies like Dracula and Wolfman and stuff like that, doing all the stuff together.
Yeah.
But those are some great films. Another great vampire film, in my opinion, one of the best ones out there, is a little cheese here and there, but Fright Night.
Oh, I loved Fright Night.
Yeah, great movie.
I love Evil Ed.
Evil what?
Evil Ed.
Evil Ed, the guy who's the werewolf.
Do you know? Oh my gosh! Oh, this is great. I was going to try. See, I was looking for somebody from Fright Night to have on my show, but I wanted to start kind of low end, right? Like one of the supporting actors before I built into somebody great, because that's generally what we do at this show. We get in from the inside and then we, worm our way through and
work our way up from the bottom. We
do, and it works. It works out well. We've had a lot of big names on this show, but so I went to get this Evil Ed guy. He was the guy that turned into the dog. And I looked him up on the Internet Movie Database, and I found out that he was doing gay pornographic films.
Oh,
I am not kidding you.
no.
I'm not kidding you. It did. I'm like, man, that's just wrong. So for those of you that want to follow his career, don't. But I mean, gay porno. Yeah, gay porno. Ugh. Oh, Once Bitten. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Niche. Somebody has to do it.
I guess so.
Niche I don't want to be involved with.
The Once Bitten movie, Chuck.
That was one of my favorite movies as a kid, man. It's hilarious.
Old Jim Carrey.
It is Jim Carrey.
Yeah, it is Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
Carrey. He weighed like 12 pounds in that movie.
Yeah, he did.
He did.
He did. Yeah, Once Bitten.
I think Nicolas Cage in that one too?
I don't remember.
I don't know. I don't think he was.
Well, what about Blackula? You guys remember that?
Yes, I remember that.
Black
one.
exploitation film.
Yeah, they were great, man. They were good. They were funny, man. Everybody likes a good black exploitation.
Dolomite and Shaft, of course.
Shaft.
The mama of them all.
Yeah, Shaft was good. But,
And Black Monday's good. That's a very old black and white movie.
I'm not familiar with
Yeah, I
that.
haven't heard of that. one.
It's like a IFC shows it every once in a while.
Huh.
If it comes on the Independent Film Channel.
Yeah, it's called Black Monday. What's it about?
Typical British men stumbling around the, Wachelian countryside, comes across a crypt, accidentally removes a holy relic, and the vampire rises up, and it's a hot chick, and, it's
Sounds like my kind of movie.
not as good quality as like a Hammer film.
Oh, yeah, they were
Very
the best.
well done.
The Hammer films were the best.
That's all right.
You are.
I'm a big fan of the B budget, C budget movies.
Oh, you'd like the Hammer films then? They're totally up your alley, like the Satanic Rites of Dracula and things like that.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah, I've got some. I'll loan them to you sometime.
Okay, no problem.
I've got a huge Hammer film collection. One of them's like Vampire Hunter. What's it called? They've just re-released a lot of these on DVDs because beforehand, you couldn't get these because private collectors own these prints and they weren't giving them up.
Oh yeah.
So they were Hammer films were. So it was before our generation, but 70s kind of kicking thing going on. What was I going to say now?
Vampires and bell bottoms.
No, well, maybe. I don't know. It depends on which Hammer film you watch.
Maybe that's your nice vampire right there.
That's
Yeah, that's it.
there you go, Chris. There's your nice vampire, the groovy, the hippie vampire. Man, I would drink your blood, but you're kind of cool.
You got some change?
Barnabas was the swinger vampire from the 70s.
Oh, I remember Barnabas. That was
Awesome.
Dark Shadows, right?
Yes.
That was a good show.
Gosh, I guess maybe back in the mid-90s.
They redid that.
Sci-Fi Channel was just birthing. They were showing Dark Shadows every day, the soap opera, and I got hooked on it.
Oh, in the mid-90s as well, they came out with Dark Shadows again. I think it was NBC that ran it. They remade it.
They did?
Yeah. I don't know if they sell this on DVD or if you can find it, but they redid it in the 90s with new actors and all that kind of thing. And they recreated, I don't know how long it lasted, maybe a season, maybe two.
I actually watched it while I lived in England.
Really?
Yeah.
The new one?
Yeah, the newer one. They actually showed the old one and the newer one.
Well, how was the new one? I don't remember. It's been so many years.
I mean, it was all right. I mean, it was just same kind of cheesy,
They kept up with
overdramatic.
the Ghost of Collinsworth and the vampire and all that?
Yeah, they had them in there.
Oh, wow.
So check that out. I just received Airwolf season 1. I'm going to be watching that later tonight. That's such a great show. Anyway,
Or wasn't that the $1 Million Man that was in that?
I don't remember.
You don't remember?
I don't remember.
No.
I haven't seen that show since I was probably 12, 13, when I was chasing vampires. Now, there was a good book, or a guy I've been trying to track down. And I don't know if you may have seen this, Terry, but it was like I saw it at a bookstore and I had to buy it. It's a fiction book, but the idea just really grabbed me. And it's a book, supposedly The Secret Diary of Abraham Van Helsing. Have you seen this?
I've heard of it, but I didn't pick it up and read it.
You should check it out. It's really fun. It's a lot of fun. There's some illustrations in there. It's not a children's book by any means, but it's like his diary as he's battling these forces of the undead and how he learned what he learned and all that. And I want to find the guy because I want to get him on the show because I think it'd be a fun thing. But it's a fun book, but it's fiction.
Publishing company.
I've tried. So So I've got other channels that I can poke around in, and then I have some people that just don't want to come on the show. That's very rare nowadays. But I mean, we get people from CNN on here and Oprah. So
And the Discovery Channel.
oh yeah, we got tons of. You probably know my friend Joshua P. Warren, don't you?
Yeah,
I've never met him formally, but
Oh, you know of him then.
I actually saw him. I actually saw the thing that he did on the Discovery Channel.
Oh, you mean the Sci-Fi Channel with George Nori's new show?
Yeah,
Yeah, he was on that
he was
first
on that,
episode there
yeah.
for most of
Hasn't he
it.
been hanging out with Alex Jones or someone recently?
I hope
as well?
not.
No.
Well, it was so funny though because he was, the that computer program that his friend made up.
Oh, Paranormal PC.
Yeah, he was pushing that real hard.
Yeah, and you know what? If you go there, I think we had mentioned here earlier on the show, months ago that the Paranormal PC, you could get the whole thing. It was like $800 or something like that. That does not come with the PC. I come to find out later. That's all the meters and the programs.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so I want to clarify that because I probably misled some people on that. Yeah.
Where's our callers for stumping the?
Yeah, come on,
the
guys.
vampirologist?
Now, jerks, call in 877-722-7382. If you're listening via podcast, well,
Well,
you just
sorry.
missed out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but call in 877-722-7382. That's 877-SCARE-YOU2, or locally 336-996-1596. Max, if you're in Canada and you're listening, give us a buzz, buddy. Anyway, I'm trying here, Terry. It's a slow night
That's
tonight.
okay. I know you were mentioning for future guests of the show. I'm a literal card-carrying member of the International Order of Horror Professionals.
Really?
Yeah.
Can I get one of those cards? How do I do it?
You have to. There's an online application you can download, fill it out, and send it in, and they'll look over your application and decide to accept you or not.
Oh, they'll accept me, or I'll beat them down from now to eternity.
I'm certain they will accept you.
I'm kidding, but
Scott will get the only rejection
card
letter.
and everything.
No. So what does this association? What are the perks of this?
International Order of Horror Professionals is a community of people who are involved in the horror industry, and it's not just for authors. It's also for people who make movies, horror movies, horror actors, people who write, gothic music, like Nox Arcana. If you're familiar with that sort of music, it's anybody related to the horror industry in any way.
Well, I'm a good personal friend of Ethan Dettenmeyer, the director and writer of the movie St. John Smith.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And also, who's on that? He's putting one of my band's songs on the soundtrack of the movie. But he's also, what's the name of that group that's doing a lot of the music for that, the scoring? I mean, that's one of those type of bands.
Yeah, it's
Midnight Syndicate. Midnight Syndicate.
It's one of the guys from the Cult, isn't it?
No, Midnight Syndicate's different, but yeah.
I gotcha.
Yeah, I have several of their CDs. Of course, I have the one of Vampires. I have the 13th Hour. Wonderful music to write to.
Huh. Well, there you go. And what's the name of this association again, Terry? I'm sorry.
The International Order of Horror Professionals.
International Order of Horror Professionals. I'm going to have to check that out.
Mm-hmm. In fact, I did a podcast with them several months back, like in January, I think. And they interviewed me for their quarterly newsletter, The Bloody Quill.
The Bloody Quill.
Yes.
Huh. How did that go?
It was wonderful. That was a really nice interview. It was fairly long, but it was very thorough and very, very nice people to work with. You can go to their website and you can download the back issues and the podcast if you'd care to listen to it.
Okay. Well, great. Well, we got another caller for you. Who we got?
Oh, excellent. Stump the Vampirologist.
Oh, it's Chris again? Oh, he's got something to stomp you. He's the guy from Atlanta that called in a minute ago. Chris, you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, what you got?
Okay. Well, we've been going over Romanian and other vampires. I'm going to take a twist, and we're going to go over to Greek vampires.
Okay.
Now, Greek mythology generally states that vampires are usually indistinguishable from living people. And that gives rise to a lot of folk tales for this theme. However, there are specific cases where in certain locations vampires appear differently. Can you name me two places and how they look different?
Okay, well, on the Isle of Milos in Greek, as in or Milo, it depends how you pronounce it, as in the Venus de Milo, two different types of Greek vampires.
Not two different types, but locations in Greece where they wind up appearing different, appearing distinguishable from humans.
Oh, okay. Well, one of them would be Lamia, and she looks just like a woman. And she would appear every night to... This is one of the 9 different variations of the Lamia, if you were listening in earlier. She had died. Her parents were very bereaved, and they buried her, and then they had a house guest, attractive young man, and at night, he didn't know that the daughter had died. And she was coming and putting the moves on him every night. And then the night that there was going to be, the consummation, the parents walked in, and she's like, "Egad," and she fell away dead. And then they were like, "What are you doing with our dead daughter?" And there was confusion. So they drug her out to town, and they burned her. In that instance, she looked exactly like a beautiful young, fresh woman. And that was in the area of Milos, or Milos, however you choose to pronounce it. Otherwise, in Santorini, Greece, vampires look like a corpse, where the skin has dried to the consistency of a drum, and when they walk, you can hear their bones and joints, they're making that noise.
Lovely.
Their teeth chatter, and they're very zombie-like, and they walk around. They're most active during the noon hour and the midnight hour.
Great.
No print for you.
Oh, rejected.
If you ask me very nice, Chris, I'll mail you one.
I'm sorry, I can barely hear that. What was that?
I said if you ask nice, we'll send you one.
Will you please send me one?
Oh, absolutely. I'll send you one.
Chris, just give me your mailing address in the chat room, and I'll shoot it to her after on the break.
Not a problem. Thanks.
All right. Thanks so much. I think he was cheating and using the internet. What do you think, guys?
It sort of sounded like it.
Maybe.
He had a book, and God bless people who buy books.
Oh, yeah. No, Chris has been listening to our show for quite some time. He's a big fan, so we've known him for a number of years.
Yeah.
Oh, well, good. We'll send him two.
Okay, there we go. You got two, Chris.
I'll make sure one of them's a Greek vampire.
There you go.
Now, who did most of the illustrations for this book, Terry?
My husband, T. Glenn Bane, is a brilliant illustrator. He did, I'd say, about half of them. And then another artist from North Carolina, Daniel Freeman, he is brilliant penciler.
Yeah.
He did some amazing drawings, particularly of the Kappa, which is a type of Japanese vampire.
Uh-huh.
Wonderful. I mean, it's beautiful. It's almost photorealistic.
Wow. Well, Terry, we're coming up on our last break here. If you'll hang tight with us, we'll be back. You're listening to The World of the Unexplained. Tonight we have author Terry Bane, author of Actual Factual Dracula. Give us a call, 877-SCARE-U2. We'll be back after this. And we're back. World of the Unexplained, author Terry Bane of Actual Factual Dracula. You must buy this book because I have a blurb on the back of it.
And it is a very, very good blurb, too.
Thank you. And I don't just endorse anything. I'm not like one of these. What's his name? Mexico. What is it, Joe?
Ron Mexico. Are you thinking of,
Yeah, that's it.
Are you thinking of Ronco?
I don't know who I'm thinking of, but the point is, I'm one of these people. I just don't endorse anything, and I read through this and I loved it so much that I had to give it some props, and it's definitely worth spending the how much, Terry?
It is $25 if you pre-order, which is they're going to extend that up until July 20th, and then it'll be $39.95 in the bookstore.
Wow, $25 for a hardcover book. That's a deal.
And where can we get these books?
You can order it through my website, teresabane.com, or free delivery, or through my publishing company, which is Nedeo Press, Nedeo Press.com.
Okay.
And they have free delivery also. After August 1st, you could, of course, go to Amazon or, barnesandnoble.com, or you could go to your local bookstore and ask for it by name. But quite frankly, I get a bigger cut if you buy it from me directly, so please do that.
You get a bigger cut, they get a better deal. I think the answer's clear here.
They do, and it's almost instant gratification. And I know it is expensive. I have $40, but it is a 500-page book. It is hardback. It is illustrated. It has the most comprehensive cross-index that has ever been accomplished. When I turned it into my publishing company, they had to get 3 different editors to break up the index to do it because no one editor would sit down. They all went, no, not for any money.
I don't blame them. I don't blame them.
And during the break, you said that we could actually purchase the prints that are in your book as well?
The prints are for sale. If you go to scaldcrow.com, like the goddess scaldcrow.com, there is a section there called Art Gallery. And all of the prints are available for sale at $10, plus other prints that have been done by the artist T. Glenn Bane.
Okay.
My husband.
I've met him before. Nice guy.
He is, and he is a very nice guy, but he is a brilliant artist, too. And I was very fortunate that the publishing company let my husband do the illustrations, because then I could sit and go, make it more pointy. Or,
I bet he loved that.
Yes, he loves when I look over his shoulder and do that. I also wanted to mention, particularly to Chris, because he lives in Georgia, that I will be at Dragon Con, and I will have a booth in the dealer's room. I will have books with me, and they will be at the pre-order price. So people come and buy my book. I will also be at Origins in Ohio next month. I'll be at Horror Find in August. That's in Baltimore, I believe. And I'll be doing all book signings all throughout October at local libraries and Scream Fest, sort of, haunted trails and haunted attractions.
Well, I'll tell you what, I know I know some people with some haunted attractions out there, and I could probably put a good word in for you around here locally.
Please do. I would love to. I bring everything. I bring my books, and I take care of everything.
Actually, I believe one of the I'm a buddy with a guy named Ed that runs or Eddie, I guess I should say, that runs I think it's Woods of Terror in Greensboro.
Yeah,
Woods
he
of
already
Terror.
has me down on his schedule this year.
Okay, I was gonna say because he had one of your other writers from your publishing company was there with a werewolf story, I think, last year.
Gina Fargo.
Okay.
And her book, Ivy Cole and the Moon,
That's it.
just won another award.
Really?
Oh, good.
Yes, Gina, she won a Benjamin Franklin Award, and then she won like 2 other awards, and she was a finalist for the Compton Crook Awards. That was it, and an IPPY Award for the Independent Book Publishers.
Okay.
But
Cool.
she just won first place in the New York City Book Fair for
Wow.
Best in Genre.
Wow.
Yeah. Very prestigious. This is a good book. It's about a little Southern girl named Ivy Cole. She's a werewolf. No surprise. They tell you this in the first chapter. And she moves into a town in the Blue Ridge Mountain, and she starts killing people. You know,
Wow.
people who deserve it, and you would like it.
Okay.
But then what happens?
My clients. No.
Then what happens is other people start turning up dead, and you're wondering, well, who's killing the other people? And then there's like this mystery. I mean, and some of the writing is just truly brilliant. Very, very awesome book. I mean, there's nothing so wholly graphic that you're squeamish about it, but Gina says just enough to thoroughly creep you out.
Now, where is she from? The Greensboro area, or is she from?
The publishing company is actually in Randleman.
Okay.
Deo
Oh,
Press.
okay.
And I can give you the phone number so you can call and order Gina's book. And the sequel to Gina's book is coming out this fall called Luna.
Yeah, I've got the number, but what is she a North Carolina native?
Yeah, she's from the Blue Ridge Mountains.
Oh wow,
Cool.
Well, you know Stephen King.
About the darkiest of the woods.
Stephen King says, "Write what you know."
That's right. Maybe we could try. Maybe that could be a guest we could try getting on.
Stephen King?
No.
Oh. I've tried actually with King. It hadn't worked out yet, but that's okay. Give it time. Well, that's awesome. So can we find all of your upcoming appearances on your website?
Yes, I have all of them on my website, and I was going to do this earlier in the year, but my mom got sick, and I had to help her. I'm going to try again in August. I'm going to try to do a chapter by chapter study and synopsis of the novel Dracula, and I'm going to try to start that in September. And this will be free. All you have to do is just log on and come into the chat room. There'll be the chapter posted, my thoughts and ideas, explanations of the symbolism, why characters are important, why certain things had to happen. You know, just break everything down to its literary molecules, as it were.
Wow, that's cool. There's a great thing running around out there on the internet called 5-Minute Dracula. Have you seen this?
What is that? I've never heard of that.
It's I came across it by accident, but it's a video cast, and he tries to tell the story of Dracula in 5 minutes. Well, he doesn't really quite make it all into 5 minutes, but it's like a cartoon video cast. It's really kind of comical. But
Oh, I've seen the bunny 30-second Borat. Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, it's similar to that. You should check it out though. If you just Google 5-Minute Dracula, you'll probably find it. But
I'll do that.
it's definitely interesting in the least. Now, God, there's just so many vampire-related themes we could branch off with here, and we've got about 4 more minutes with you. We could talk about, Bela Lugosi. We could talk about, vampires just in the European area and what caused a lot of those, where those myths came from. You tell me, Terry.
Oh, you just went dead. What'd you say?
Oh, I said, you tell me, Terry. Where do you want to go with this?
I would like to tell people that there's more to the vampires than just the TVs and the books. There's vampire leopards. There's vampire horses. There's actually a vampire horse that's documented in America. I wish I thought of that earlier, named Skippy.
Skippy, the vampire horse.
Yeah,
Watch out, Mr. Ed.
and he's covered in my book.
Really?
So,
there we go.
I've tracked down the files of the vampire horse Skippy, and he's in there.
What year was that? Circa
1973.
1973. There's a vampire horse running around.
Yes.
Tell us the story behind this.
A woman was looking for her horse. It got missing, and the horse's name wasn't Skippy. It was Lady, but the newspapers reported it as Skippy. And she went looking for her horse, and she found it out in the desert, chest ripped open, heart gone, all the blood drained. And the only thing that was near the body were these 18-inch hoof marks Now, 18 inches, so that if people don't know what a horse hoof is, horse hoof is about the width of your hand, 4 inches.
Yeah.
18 inches is what most door frames are.
Yeah.
18-inch horse hoofs all around the body. And the woman lost it. I mean, she had a very severe psychotic episode and wound up committing suicide over this.
Oh, my gosh.
But the horse's body was recovered. It was autopsied, and it's covered in my book if you want to know how it ends.
There we go.
Oh.
The cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Well, Terry, thanks again for coming on our show. That web address is www.teresabane.com, and that's Teresa with an H.
Yep.
So, and nedeopress.com as well. Any final word?
Buy my book. I'm moving and I need cash.
I get you. So am I. Buy her book. I've got a blurb. Thanks so much for being with us tonight, Terry. We appreciate
Thank you for having me, Jay. It's been wonderful fun.
it. All right, thanks. Have a good one.
You too.
Bye-bye. And that was Terry Bane, author of Actual Factual Dracula. That's pretty good.
Oh, yeah, that was good, man.
And just so much, man. Those things cover such a, vampirism and the whole idea of the vampire going back in America and even in Europe and all over the world.
Oh, yeah. When her book actually comes out and actually is out in the stores, we should actually have her back on just to cover more of her book again.
Oh, yeah, man. Pump it back up.
Oh, yeah.
I should have got into more worldwide vampire stuff, like the Chinese stuff and the Japanese stuff and all the weird stuff that people aren't normally accustomed to. But, I wanted to keep people, people getting that Dracula mindset.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Get them all freaky
Oh, yeah.
if you want to talk about something else. We ain't going to talk about Dracula. Yeah, well, I don't want to talk about Dracula.
Well, not only that, but also
Dracula's a homo.
Also learning about the other lady who is writing the books about the werewolf. I mean, that'd be a really cool guest to have on as well.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You're right, actually. Vampires are a tad effeminate.
Effeminate?
Yeah, a little girly, man.
Yeah.
Oh.
All the sucking on another dude's neck.
Yeah, that's kind of gay.
A bit. I'll have to agree with you on it a bit, man.
But see, they never portrayed Dracula like that, though. He's always sucking on some chick's neck.
Always a female.
Yeah.
That Anne Rice stuff, though, is...
Oh, yeah, that's totally homoerotic, dude.
Is a tad, yes.
A tad, dude.
Well,
they're like making out. They're next to making out, basically.
It doesn't help that Tom Cruise is in it.
Yeah.
Oh, Mr. Scientology.
But that was before.
Him and old Brad Pitt, boy.
Go ahead.
Those Scientologists have compromising photos of him anyway.
Oh, I'm sure they do.
He'll never leave. He's their Jesus, man.
Oh, my gosh. You're probably right.
They elected him, or not elected him, but I guess anointed him
as their Messiah.
To that position, in the religion.
Your own personal Jesus.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise
is. Oh, we're gonna get sued, aren't we?
Probably.
Maybe, yeah.
All sorts of defamation. He's still alive.
Yeah.
Damn it.
It don't matter, man. He's a public figure. New York Times v. Sullivan controls. We have the right to make parodies of these people. 877-722-7382. We're upset that you haven't called in tonight, people.
Call in, Tom Cruise.
Oh, God. What would you do if he did? That'd be kind of weird.
We might get to talk some pretty serious smack, actually, if he did.
Yeah.
The show might go on for another hour and a half.
Probably
Like, this is Tom Cruise. And you're like, really? How can we know that you're Tom Cruise? Huh?
I don't know, man.
That's a good question.
That is a good question. Well, when it says Cruise Tom on the caller ID, that was
caller
one.
ID, yeah.
What bunker they're hiding their child in.
Yeah, oh, that's so wrong. Good Lord. Anyway, I just want to talk about Chuck and I and our political talk show.
Yeah, what's going on with that?
We need a name.
We need a name, and we need you
Badly.
guys to help us come up with a name.
So we can get the ball rolling on it.
We're thinking Wednesday nights.
How's that sound to you guys?
Yeah. What are y'all doing Wednesday? Come on over to our place.
At least we won't have to compete with Monday Night Football.
That's true. We'll have to compete with Wednesday night
Idol.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That's about.
I really
bad
dislike
as-
that show.
That's about as bad as our guest who was the
Dancing with the Stars.
Dancing with the Stars.
We won't name who it was.
Oh.
See, we're so much better than Idol.
Yeah, much better.
We're entertaining.
We're more grassroots.
No one's calling to vote on us. It's like, vote on this guest now. Dial *1 if you.
No one's going to win a multi-million-dollar CD contract out of
No,
here.
they're just going to win a place on our Hall of Fame,
Or maybe some really cool screen prints.
or they could win the Hall of Shame
I was
award.
gonna
And
say
we're
they
not.
could
We're not
win the
going
Hall
to.
of Shame.
There's only 2 names on that right now, and we're not going to tell anybody who they are because.
If you go back into the archives, though, I bet you could find out.
I was gonna say, I bet you can figure it out real quick. I don't know. Some people might disagree, though, as to what's worse. Some people, the ones that we thought were really bad, might think that they were really good. I mean, I highly doubt it.
I think you're exactly right, actually. I think some of the ones that we thought were terrible make great radio, man.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Oh, yeah.
I want to get, there's a lady out there
Oh,
that Josh,
just a lady?
yeah, that Josh turned me on to that apparently, this is sounding worse and worse, isn't it?
Bad this sounds.
But there's a lady out there that Josh turned me on to that actually can supposedly, I think I've told you guys about this. She can supposedly channel the soul of JFK,
No,
and we can interview not only her during the interview, but JFK through her.
Awesome.
Yes, I'm thinking that's.
Yeah.
I'll have to do some fact researching.
I want somebody that talks to
Fact-checking.
Elvis, man. I really do. That'd be great. There was a lady that wrote a book a number of years ago about her. She wrote the book, and supposedly Elvis channeled it all to her, and she wrote it because she was speaking to Elvis. And that's how the book is laid out. And I'd emailed her a long time ago, never got a response. But
Yeah, I don't think I've never heard of that.
yeah, I think her name was Pamela something or other. I don't remember. But yeah, I wanted her on the show. But nothing beats Skippy the vampire horse.
The vampire horse. Yeah.
His name
Skippy the
apparently was
vampire
never
horse.
Skippy.
Yeah, it was
in the
actually
first
Lady.
place, yeah.
An 18-inch hoof mark. That's huge.
Dude,
That's incredible.
man,
Yeah,
that is just-
that is incredible. That's crazy.
That's a horse you don't want to be trampled
Yeah,
by.
no joke,
No
right?
kidding.
Or kicked. Good Lord. But yeah, Chuck and I are doing a new political show starting sometime soon.
Whenever they get a name.
Whenever we get a name, web domain. I would say place to carry us, but we've got that. We're going to be on the OmniSound Radio 1 network. Yeah, we're pretty much there. We just need we need guests, and we can get
Well,
those.
That always helps, yeah.
Yeah, I can get those. We ain't worried about that.
Why are you guys deciding to do it on Wednesday instead of Monday?
Because Monday we do this show.
Oh. So what time are you going to do it on Wednesday?
I don't know, 8 to 10. How's that sound?
Sounds good to me, man.
Yes, check us out on Wednesday, 8 to 10 on...
Insert name here.
Exactly.
So yeah, email in some ideas, man. I mean, there are a few we've been kind of kicking around, but
And we know you guys are listening.
What's our website? Our email address?
worldoftheunexplained@gmail.com. Yeah.
As I
Hit the
hit
bill
the
of your
mic
hat on
with
the
my
mic. Yeah.
That was great.
I've for the first time, I think, in a long time, I've run out of stuff to talk about.
It's because you're mentally tired.
I am. I don't know what it is. Today has been a tremendous day. It's trying to juggle clients and trying to set up a firm and getting everything together.
And you worked so hard sitting in the chair while I was putting in your lock on your
I was
door.
talking to a client in the conference room. You were in my office. He installed a deadbolt on my door today.
fancy.
Oh, yeah, it was, buddy.
It was good, man. He did a good job, and did it very quickly too.
Yeah, I told you it wouldn't take long once I got over there.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. He did a great job.
Did you have like a ratchet driver or something? Put it in 2 seconds?
No.
No.
not that quick.
But he actually did a good job with it. Good job. I was impressed at his carpentry prowess.
No, I wouldn't be surprised actually. From what I hear, he's pretty handy. With all sorts of stuff.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean,
He could build a house.
I could.
apparently, he works with metal and
Yeah, he does all kinds of
and all
crap.
sorts of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, now I'm working on my mom's rent house.
Yeah, I mean, I was just, I just remember the old D in carpentry, and
Oh, that did not work well at all, did it?
I'm going to tell it. Years ago, we were in college. First time we were in college, and basically D and I decided we were going to build this box to house his radio, the CD player,
The
because
CD player,
we had a
yeah.
cassette deck, man, and we were stepping up, man, to the next level because CDs were the craze, man. It was like 1995, and So we were putting a CD player in his car. Circuit City was installing it. So we built this wooden box to house it because there was no unit in the car that could house it. It couldn't fit into the dash. So we decided to build this wooden box to put on like the thing under the dash. And
Not to mention it was a 1982 Datsun 210 hatchback.
I love that car. It had a little spray Bondo all over it. It was
It
light
was
dark
perfect.
blue.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was.
That's when I was doing body work on cars.
Yeah, it was great. He could hotwire a car. He showed me how to hotwire a car. We were like 19. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about.
So anyway, but he didn't hotwire someone else's car. He hotwired his own to show me how to do it. Anyway, point is, but yeah, we built this wooden box, and it was the ugliest, most non-symmetrical box that we've ever had.
It was horrible, man.
And that's the last thing I've seen him do carpentry-wise. And then he comes over today. He's like, "Yeah, I'll put your deadbolt in." I'm like, "Oh Lord, I don't know what's going to look like."
There's not gonna be- no right angles on that one.
Yeah, but no, he did a great job, and no, I wasn't concerned at all. But I just think it's funny remembering back to the old days.
Not all that, but we had nails sticking out of it, and we had all that.
Oh yeah, so we like hammered it down so it bent over.
Together with nails.
Oh, we put the box
yeah.
with nail and
Glue and
and
glue.
and I was gonna say glue and liquid nail. It was horrible, man.
Yeah, we did
Oh,
a
the
great
thing was-
job.
And if I remember correctly, the guys that were putting it in when they were actually installing the CD player laughed at us.
I think you're right. I think I do remember that. They're like, "What is this?"
Wait. You built the box, and then you had the.
and then they installed.
then we had it
and then-
professionally
we had
installed
professionals to install it
into the wooden
little
box.
wooden box.
with all the liquid nails, the glue, the.
That sounds
Yeah.
like money well spent.
It sounded great, man.
Hey, it was for my car. You know, I had like a $3,000 stereo system in the car.
And a $250 car. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep,
$250 car.
And we had rims. No, I'm kidding. $400 rims. No, this is before the rim craze, I think. I don't even know. I don't know when the rim craze started.
I had no idea when it started either.
It's been around for a while. I don't know. I saw some pretty terrible ones on the way down from Virginia today. Those
really?
those ones that you buy at like Walmart for $20 or something, and they sort of spin in the wind.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like really, really, really hardcore, like bright plastic silver looking.
Yeah. You can't miss them.
Well, you know, the spinners, the real ones that are metal that they sell out in L.A., those things I think are around, $3-4 grand.
You have to redo your suspension, all sorts of stuff. It's a ton of money to invest in something like that. And then you get caught racing, and they'll crunch your car out in L.A.
Oh, yeah, I saw that on
Yeah.
the news. Yeah, crunch your car. I was looking today, I was curious about speed racing in North Carolina. It carries the same amount of points as a DWI here. I think it's like 10 points.
What is it, reckless driving?
No, this is like different from reckless driving. But yeah, speed, like racing, like highway racing and DWI carry the same number
I
of
thought that was
points.
one of those offenses here, actually, they could just yank your license on the spot for.
I'd have to look into that. I haven't had any.
Maybe
I haven't had any
you'll
speed
have to at
racer
some point
clients,
here,
but,
yeah.
yet, and I'm not saying that I couldn't, and I'd welcome them all.
So you get like what, the same points on your license for like you would for a DWI?
For DWI, yeah, 10 points.
Well, isn't that the same maximum if you pass a school bus?
No, I think that's like 5. I don't remember. I had to look at the chart. Yeah, passing a school bus is still bad.
It's like one worse or something than speeding or blowing a stop sign.
Yeah. You passed a stopped school bus. Yeah. I used to pass them all the time. Then I found out they got cameras, and I'm like, oh, no. I'm kidding. I never pass stop school buses. I care about the kids. I do. As long as they're good American kids. That's right.
None of them named Cody or Tyler or any of those other soft surnames.
Where did you come
As a
up?
first name. George Carlin has a bit about it.
Oh, okay. So now you're ripping off George Carlin.
Of course. I do it every day, man.
Do you really?
Yeah, I do.
Well, you kind of would look like George Carlin.
I was just getting ready to say that.
if we would take away the hair and,
no,
and trim the beard.
You keep the hair. You just give him that nice receded hair.
Yeah, back to like here where the headphones are on his head at. Yeah.
Because back in the 70s and 80s, he still had the ponytail.
Yeah, he still had the ponytail. That's true, dude. Yeah, George Carlin is, to the best of my knowledge, is the only comedian that is in a United States Supreme Court decision.
I think you might be right, actually.
And but it was about obscenity.
The seven words you can't say on.
Yeah, George Carlin is
Set the precedent with the FCC.
Yeah. And that was the funniest stand-up he has ever done. He used them all. It was hilarious.
Yeah, well, apparently some guy's dad didn't think so.
It was some, I think, Baptist minister, actually, listening to his radio show somewhere in the Southeast, I think Mississippi or Alabama.
I thought it was in the North. I thought it was in New York somewhere, honestly. I'd have to look. I hadn't read that case in a number of years, but I thought it did strike me as odd, though.
It's never the FCC that gets a show yanked, man. It's always advertisers.
Well, nowadays,
like the old
with
Don
Imus-
Imus, yeah. No,
nowadays.
I don't think that there's a case ever where the FCC has ever pulled a program.
Yeah, they just fine you a lot of money if you're.
Well,
a
they just make a
station
big stink about it until all the advertisers, it's like a third rail in politics. No one wants to touch it.
It was like they blackballed you.
Yeah, exactly. They find you so much you can't even pay it anymore.
Yeah, thank God no one cares what we do. They had a blackballed us years ago. And there the music starts again. Yeah, I'm really trying to eat up this last 2 minutes here. Yeah, I've got to go I've got to make the whole round.
to go the distance here.
Who do we have on next week then?
Hey, that's good.
Would help if we had the website.
Yeah.
No. I think I know. Is next week July 2nd? I think it is. Next Monday's July 2nd.
Yes, it is.
All right, yeah, we've got, and I need to update the website. I have uploaded podcasts, but the next guest is Paul L. Williams, Day of Islam. That's going to be a really, really good show. You've heard him on the Savage Nation before, and he's coming on. It's not on the site yet, by the way, but he's going to. Chuck scrolling through the site. Really? Oh, I got to check this out. Yeah, no, you're not going to check that out there, buddy. He's.
Man, that's horrible, man. Because I'll be at the beach, man.
You're going to be at the beach next Monday?
Yeah, man. Fishing my little heart out.
I'll just get you a Wi-Fi connection. You'll be fine.
There's Paul
I
Williams
probably
right
could.
there, man.
Yeah, I mean, I put his name up there, but I didn't really put anything else.
More to come.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
More to come. Day of Islam. But basically, he talks about the idea of these suitcase nukes coming in to the United States through our unguarded, unprotected Mexican and Canadian borders, and by these Islamo-fascists that want to blow us up in a great attempt at an American Hiroshima.
All you World War III fans and post-apocalyptic fans and
It's gonna be a
conspiracy
good
theory
show.
guys. Yeah, exactly. It should be way into it.
And yeah, he'll take your calls. So that's next week. What happened to the music?
I don't know, man. I
It's-
don't know what's going on.
Yeah,
Chuck.
it's done apparently.
All right, that's fine. This
we
is
used it up, man.
This is Jay
That's
Scott.
the first time.
You're only JD DJ on the Omni Sound Radio 1 network.
This is D. Your whatever. Blah. I don't even know what you call I am.
I think you used Phone Answer Man when
Yeah,
Wade was here.
your phone answer man.
Yeah, that was great. I had a whole hour to come up with that. Yeah. Anyway, gosh, we really screwed around the last 15 minutes.
We really have.
I'm sorry. Usually we're more entertaining. Every now and then you just get a blah night. Anyway, Chuck.
We out.